just joining, I am here live with my wonderful assistant, Chewy. So today's topic for my live, it is coming from a while ago when I asked you guys in my stories what you want me to go live about, and I will be continuing to go live and doing these live streams. So the way it was asked was, how do you deal with the destruction of the idea of having a family when all you had was manipulation and lies? So this is a big one, especially if you're just coming to terms with, realizing that your family is dysfunctional. And, that's a big blow, first of all. Like, just coming to that realization that, my family's not normal. The way that we treat each other is not normal. And, there's been a lot of lies, a lot of manipulation in my family. And society makes family such a big deal, right? So it's like, how do you deal with that? How do you cope with that? And I think the biggest problem with this whole concept is just like the way that society kind of treats you when, you come out and say to somebody that, I have a dysfunctional family, I have narcissistic parents, siblings, caregivers, whoever, and a lot of it is like other people's reactions that we don't know how to respond, right? There's a lot of emotional work that's involved with dealing with this kind of thing. So the first thing to understand is that just the idea of family is just that, it's an idea. It really is just a construct. It's, in most cases, of a normal family. Like, what's a normal family anymore, right? In most situations, it's like you're born to these people. You didn't get a choice in the matter. Like, these people just decided to, have a baby, and you're a product of their, dysfunctional relationship. And then what, right? That's family, okay? And then if these people are not healthy emotionally, does that just give them the right to treat you like shit? Does that just give them the right to abuse you emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever? Any type of abuse is bad, but obviously this is about emotional abuse, mental abuse. Just because you are born to these people, it literally does not mean that they get to abuse you, right? So just put yourself in a situation where if you're somebody who wants to have children, even if you don't, just imagine the idea of just bringing a child in this world for the purpose of being horrible to them. Does that make any sense, right? So that's why this doesn't matter so much, because family does not matter. I'm just gonna straight up say it. Just because you're related to somebody, it does not make them like God. It doesn't make them in charge of your life. It doesn't make them able to abuse you just because you're related. And there's this double standard with society that, family is everything. And for normal families, yeah, sure. Probably, right? And it's a non-issue to them. I feel like most families that are normal and healthy and everyone's the people who decided to bring children into this world were well adjusted and made it not about them and it's about the child and all that. They don't even have to say that family's everything, right? It's usually the abusive families that you see saying that, because that just is a bit of a red flag that it's trying to cover something up, right? So it's important to understand that family is not everything. And especially if you're in a family where they're basically saying oh no, but it's family, so you have to do this, and this, and you have to bleed for these people and do everything for these people, and even if they treat you like crap, it's still your family. No. Disrespect is disrespect, and just because someone's related to you, it doesn't give them the green light to go ahead and treat you like shit. So just keep that in mind. And I will say, blood is not thicker than water. Blood is not thicker than peace. Your mental health is more important than your family. If you are starting to figure out that your family is the source of your mental health suffering. So understand that, and you can be okay with that, but it takes a while to be okay with that. You're not just going to be like immediately okay with this fact, because if it depends what stage you're at on the healing journey. If you even started doing any healing, I mean, let's just say you're at the very beginning of it, where it's just like you're just realizing like, shit, my family's dysfunctional, I don't want to really associate with them anymore. Is that okay? Right? A big part of it is that okay? Can you give yourself the permission to disengage from these people just because you're related to them? Is the only thing that you have in common with them DNA? Because that's not good enough. That's not good enough to keep a relationship. That's not good enough to justify abuse. It's not good enough, in my book, for anything. Like, if they can't treat you with a shred of decency, just because you're related by a few or several strands of DNA, it doesn't mean that it's okay that they're behaving abusively towards you. So you can create your own family, right? So this could be your friends, this could be your significant other, this could be the family that you birth into the world, right? But it's important to also do your healing work so that you're not like projecting your unhealed stuff onto them. But before you even go there and start saying that you're projecting, because I don't like that term really, but like we do tend to project when there's unhealed parts of us. Basically, ask yourself, what does the word family even mean to you? Okay? Like, does this word have a meaning to you? And what is that meaning? Define family for yourself. And if your definition of family is, this is a group of people, we're all nice to each other, we all have similar interests, you don't even have to have similar interests, but like, we don't abuse each other, essentially, right? If your definition of family includes, we do not abuse each other emotionally, mentally, or in any type of way, then that's pretty good, but the bar is pretty low, right? Like, it can't just be DNA. So decide what it means for you that you have a family. And sometimes it's okay to be separated from your family. You can love them from far away, right? Like, if you're starting to go no contact with a family member, that's okay. Give yourself permission to make it okay, right? If anything, this video is your permission that like it's okay to disengage and to step away from family members who are behaving abusively towards you. And it's super, super important, and I can never stress this enough, to process your emotions as you go through this, right? So this goes from like the beginning to the end that never ends, right? So if you're at the beginning, you're seeing that like, you have abusive family members, they are actually abusing you, and you're done. How do you feel about that? Ask yourself how you feel about the fact that they're being abusive towards you. And you might also feel like you're the one who's wrong, because especially when you're dealing with narcissistic people, they will project themselves onto you and say that you're the one being abusive, you're the one who's wrong, you're the one who's too sensitive, whatever. And they will make you feel like you're the one that has something wrong with you, right? Where really, we all have something wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with you, right? It's their abuse, which is what's wrong with you, right? Like, them abusing you is what's wrong with them, not with you. You're just like, reacting to it, and that's it. So yeah, like, understand that you're the one who's being abused by your family, and it's okay to disengage from these people. And how do you feel about that? So process your emotions. So you might feel like you're the wrong one. You might feel like you're the one who's going crazy and all that kind of stuff. But here's the thing. When you process those emotions, right? Whatever emotions are associated with you feeling like you're the problem, whether that's shame, guilt, sadness, whatever, process those emotions. And you don't have to act on those emotions. You just process them. Sit with the emotion. So if you're feeling, and it doesn't make them right, also, I need to stress that. Just because you're feeling guilty about, things are not really going well with your family and you kind of want to step away from them, go no contact with some people, if you feel guilty about that, that's a normal human emotion and it's okay to feel that because you're a human, and it does not mean that you're a bad person for wanting to disengage and for wanting to get away. It does not at all, not even a little bit, mean that you are a bad person. But that feeling of guilt is probably there, and that's okay. Be okay with the feeling of guilt and allow yourself to sit with the guilt and process it. Year of Gina says, I have to disengage or I get consumed by their crazy and it makes me crazy. Exactly. So if you're feeling crazy because of these people, it's a very good idea to disengage and process the emotions as you're going through it. So while you're feeling crazy, feel the emotions associated with that, and it's probably going to be a lot of shame, right? They're going to make you feel like you're ashamed of yourself and stuff like that because you do feel like you're crazy, so maybe you feel like you're wrong, but you got to process that emotion because the only way out is through. Like, there's no other way around it. You have to feel those emotions. Instagram says, as a recovering codependent, the guilt feeling can be so tough. Yeah, the feeling of guilt is super tough. Guilt is one of those emotions that you can have it for any reason, right? And it doesn't even mean that you're guilty of something. It just means like you feel guilty and you're taking that something on. And, like, for example, let's say your family is making you feel guilty for wanting to disengage, right? Or for setting a boundary even, right? Disengaging is setting a boundary. Gray rocking is setting a boundary. Telling them that you don't appreciate the way that they treat you is setting a boundary and, saying like, I would appreciate if you'd stop treating me like this or else there's going to be consequences and I'm going to have to disengage, and they're trying to make you feel guilty about it. Number one, that's so normal for a narcissistic family member to react in a way that they try to make you feel guilty and try to pin everything on you and make you feel like you're a piece of shit for doing what's right for you. So yeah, the emotion of guilt is very difficult because you start feeling crazy. You start feeling like, oh my God, something is wrong with me. Oh my God, I am wrong. Shit, like I shouldn't have done this. I really hurt these people. But here's the thing. Process that, right? Because you don't know what's on the other side of that emotion. And that emotion is going to try and make you feel like you have to do something or not set that boundary or not disengage, but that's not true. And you don't know that that's not true until you actually feel through that emotion and allow yourself to feel it. And once you feel it, it goes away. I cannot stress it enough. Like, the anticipation of feeling the guilt is worse than feeling the guilt itself. And when you're sitting with it, it sucks. It really sucks. Like, it doesn't, there's a million other things I'd rather do with my time than sit with the feeling of guilt. So I get that. I get why anybody would be so resistant to sitting with feeling guilty, right? Because it's not a good time. Like, let's just be real. It's not fun. It's a shitty feeling. It's very shitty. And it's not designed to make you feel good, right? But by feeling it, here's the thing. If you don't feel your emotions, right? Like, your feelings and emotions are meant to be felt. So if you do not feel them, where do they go? They go nowhere. They stay in your body. They manifest as ruminating thoughts, and you just keep thinking about the scenario over and over and over, but you keep stopping yourself from feeling that emotion. So you just keep thinking like, oh my God, like, I feel so guilty. I'm going to be detaching from these people. Oh my God. Like, I feel guilty, but like, that's all I'm going to say about it. And I don't want to feel that guilt. That's not helping you, right? If you sit with the guilt and allow yourself to feel it, you know, journal about it. Journaling is a great way to feel an emotion. Journaling helps you to access that emotion. So when I say journaling, I'm not talking about like, dear diary, this happened today and I'm documenting this for the day. No, I'm talking about like, get a random scrap piece of paper, like the shittiest piece of paper ever, like you're not keeping this, and just free write for 20 minutes, set a timer, and like literally make sure that timer's for 20 minutes because that's the magic number. Don't ask me why, it just works. So 20 minutes. And no censor, just go. Just start writing every thought that's in your head. As horrible, as vile as it is, you're going to be extremely inappropriate in your writing. No censor. Don't give any fucks about what you're writing. Just write. Just go. Go crazy with that paper. Have a freaking temper tantrum on paper. Once that 20 minutes is up, you destroy that paper. So you could do this on a word processor and just delete everything that you wrote after, right? I prefer physically writing it down because to me it just works better for me. It might be different for you, but I would suggest writing it if you can. And then see where that takes you, right? Because it could take you in any direction. And once you actually feel that feeling, you're gonna feel it in your body. You're gonna feel the emotion in your body somewhere, right? So pay attention to that. Maybe you're feeling it in your neck. Maybe you're feeling it in your chest. Maybe your heart is beating faster. Maybe you feel sick to your stomach, okay? This is the way that emotions manifest themselves physically. So again, not comfy, not great. I wish I could say like what all the other people talk about and say like, oh, just think positive thoughts and you're good. Like that's such an easy thing to say and such a bullshit cop-out thing to say that's not going to help anybody. But it's easy to say and people want to hear that because they want an easy quick fix. And I'm telling you, after years of trying the easy quick fixes, I can tell you they don't work. Thinking positively is not going to make you positive. And, you know, ignoring the emotion is not going to make the emotion go away. And I can tell you that firsthand. I spent my entire life ignoring my emotions, absolutely not being okay with them, because I was raised by a narcissist and I was taught at a very young age that emotions are wrong and I'm not allowed to have any. And I have to just be worried about my narcissistic parent and I don't matter, right? So allowing myself to start feeling those emotions was difficult. And the only reason that I started to feel those emotions was because of chronic pain. I had physical chronic pain in my head. Like I had jaw pain. My jaw is deviated. It's still deviated. And I had migraines all the time, TMJ dysfunction, eventually trigeminal neuralgia. My story is sprinkled in most of my posts. If you want like the full story, go to my website at the link in bio and go to About Me because there's more of that there. I don't want to go on a chronic pain rant again because I feel like I do that in every live video, but it's just so relevant. Because like the pain really opened up my eyes to everything. Like the pain has literally been my biggest gift. And I know that sounds crazy, but without my pain, I wouldn't be here talking about this and helping other people who are going through similar things that I went through in my life. I would not have a coaching practice. I would not be coaching clients. I would not have created a course. Like if you're interested in doing the work, but you don't want coaching, I made a course exactly for that purpose, where you can literally do it at your own pace. And it's a step-by-step course. And there's all the resources that I found worked for me that will probably work for you if you give them a shot. And it's all ways on how to release your emotions, how to feel your emotions, how to identify your belief systems, all from your childhood programming. And, you know, it was because of the chronic pain that I discovered this. And I was honestly offended by it at first because it just didn't make any sense to me that like we can even repress emotions, because what's an emotion? Like you can't physically see an emotion. It just doesn't make sense, right? Like there's no metric attached to emotions. You can't measure them. They're just this arbitrary thing that we feel sometimes if we allow ourselves to. And how can that be causing all of my pain, right? But if you're not processing your emotions, you're going to end up with pain of some sort. So that could be physical pain. In my case, it was physical pain. That could be emotional pain. That could be mental pain, right? So if you're having emotional pain, you could be just like crying all the time, but not actually processing emotions, not allowing yourself to feel where in your body the emotion is. And then mental pain would be like the ruminating thoughts, right? Because no one wants to keep overthinking. And overthinking is also part of repressed emotions. So it's important to process them. And I feel like there were a few more questions here, so I'm going to answer those. And feel free to ask more questions on this topic. How do you know, Year of Gina says, how do you know when you've processed the emotion versus getting distracted? So yeah, totally. That's the whole thing. So the pain is a distraction, right? The ruminating thoughts are a distraction. So noticing when you're getting distracted is important, because the thing is, as humans who are not in touch with our emotions, if we're afraid of having emotions, if we have closed ourselves off so much from our emotional selves, we have created distractions from like birth, like literally, like we have figured out how to distract ourselves from the emotions from a very, very long time. For me, it was physical pain. That was my distraction. And you know, for you, it could be something else, right? Like there's so many distractions. It's being busy all the time. That's a distraction. Immersing yourself into work, right? Like working overtime when you don't have to, or you should never have to work overtime, right? Like staying at the office late, all that kind of stuff. Filling up your calendar with activities, filling up different things to do, deciding like, oh, I'm gonna start doing the work when I've done this, this, and this. Understanding all of that is a distraction. You know, it could be a drink. That's a distraction. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It could be weed. That's a distraction. Again, not that there's anything wrong with it. Everything in moderation, right? Like whatever, if it's a substance, if it's like doing all the things, if it's scrolling on Instagram instead of processing your emotions, you know you're distracting yourself. So the best way to process the emotions instead of getting distracted is to set time in your calendar to actually process your emotions. So like schedule a meeting with yourself for that 20 minutes of journaling. Like that, and that on its own, if you can commit to that type of journaling for 20 minutes a day where you're literally just uncensored, piece of paper, 20 minutes, no censor, no filter, no nothing, and then you rip up that paper, that is great. And don't worry about where the conversation goes, like where that journaling conversation goes. Like it's gonna go in interesting places. You're gonna be talking about something 1 minute, and then the next minute it's gonna be like, holy shit, right? It could be like, holy shit, I never knew that this happened in my childhood, or I was this upset about this thing that happened in my childhood, or that I'm even this upset about this thing that is happening right now, and that's okay, right? So try to commit to that, right? If you can't do it every day, which I recommend you do, but if you can't, try a couple times a week, right? Just set that time aside for yourself, especially if you're really new to doing this work. Start small. Do something, right? Where you're just taking that chunk of time for 20 minutes where nothing else matters, you know, like light a candle, burn some incense, do something, like just make it like a sacred practice of yours or something like that. Just make it something that you're going to look forward to for yourself. And then you'll be able to start slowly processing those emotions. And don't expect a change to happen overnight, okay? That's like the biggest thing. Don't expect you're gonna journal one time and then boom, you're good. Like you're no more problems and you don't care that, you know, you don't talk to your family anymore. It's not going to work like that. Like, you're a human and you're going to feel great about not talking to your family one day, and then maybe like the next minute you're going to feel guilty about it or empowered or whatever. You're going to, like, there's a range of emotions and every emotion's okay, right? Because you're human. Humans have emotions, so it's just important to just come to terms with the fact that humans have emotions. So yeah, just bear in mind those distractions, and to avoid distractions, just like, you know, set time aside. Wow, I've never heard of that journaling style. I am here for it. Awesome. Same, love the journaling idea. Yay. So glad that you guys like this journaling idea. And yeah, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask them. I'm going to ramble a little bit longer. And then if there's no questions between now and then, I am going to end this video here, and I will be back soon doing more lives. I know I keep saying that, but now for real. So yeah, just understand that, you know, it's okay if you don't want to talk to your family anymore. You know, they're just people who brought you here. Right? Like, they're your vehicle into this world, and you're allowed to not talk to them when they're being abusive to you. Just because they are family, it doesn't give them like a special badge that says like, I'm allowed to be abusive and treat people like shit because I'm related to them. Doesn't work that way. And it shouldn't work that way. And for whatever reason, society has just like this whole thing about family being everything, that it's like, if you don't talk to your family, you're just like seen as like this like unstable, like fucked up person. And it's just not true. It's just not true. Like, if your family's fucked up, that's not your fault. Like, you're not the problem. You're seeing the problem. If you're able to actually see the problem and understand that this dynamic is fucked up, that's awesome. Right? You're not the problem if you can see that. You're the black sheep of the family if you can see that, and that's a badge of honor. It really is. It sucks in the moment because it's like no one's really on your side, right? When you're the black sheep of the family, but like, why stay blind to the bullshit? You know, like, being blind to the bullshit just keeps you back. Like, it just holds you back in your life, and you know, sometimes by disengaging, well, all the time by disengaging from an abusive situation, you empower yourself to live the life that you want to live, right? Like, if I didn't see through the shit in my own family, like, I wouldn't be here. Like, I would not be here telling you that it's okay to disengage from family. I would have a very different life. It would be really shitty. And yeah, like, I created my own family. Like, I met my husband and we have Chewy, our dog, here, and that's my family. And I couldn't be happier with that. I don't need any other family, right? Like, I have like my relatives all over the place too. Like, you know, I talk to my dad, I talk to my half siblings and stuff like that. But the family that I knew here growing up, which was like my mother's side of the family, like, who the fuck are they? Like, you know, it's okay. It's really okay. Like, just because we're related by DNA, it really does not mean that I have any obligation to them. It doesn't mean any of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it's just society that places this obligation on us to have a family that is normal and whatever. And it's just, if that's not your truth, that's not your truth, right? Like, it's just, it is what it is, and you don't have to subscribe to that narrative just because society says so, and they, whoever they are, say that you need to be close with your family and have a great relationship with them and all that kind of bullshit, because it's just bullshit. If you have a good family and you're happy with them and you enjoy spending time with them, that's great. I'm happy for you. But, you know, chances are if you're stumbling upon this video and you're watching this, that's not the case for you. And it is okay that that's not the case for you. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because, I always say this, and it kind of sounds bad, but I don't care how it sounds really, because it's the truth. Just because someone's capable of having a child does not mean that they should have a child, right? Like, if they're not gonna put that kid's interests first and they can't see past themselves, not a good idea. But these people, like narcissists, will have children to be extensions of themselves, and they'll put like these massive expectations on the kid to perform, basically, and suit their needs and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, you're not buying a car, like, you're having a kid, and the kid has its own needs and is a human and is going to have its own emotions. And if as a parent you can't handle that, like, you probably just shouldn't have a kid, because, you know, the consequences on the kid is they end up having to heal from their childhood once they're an adult, and you don't want to be giving your kid a childhood that they have to heal from. But if that's the case for you, that's okay. There's so many of us out there who have had to heal from our childhoods, myself being one of them. The healing doesn't really stop, and that's okay too, because when I say the healing doesn't really stop, like, I don't want you to get scared that, like, it's going to be really shitty all the time. The beginning, it's going to be kind of shitty. But as you get used to it, it's going to be like, okay, let's work through this emotionally, and it's all good. And I can tell you now, like, where I am now without chronic pain, because that's how my repressed emotions were manifesting. Without chronic pain, I'm much happier now that I've done the work that I've done. And yeah, I still have to continue processing emotions as I go along. And that's okay. That's totally okay. It's not like, the thing is, you're never gonna not be a human who has emotions. So until then, there's processing to do. So it's like you have to kind of make peace with the fact that it's like a lifestyle change. And here's the thing, you don't have to do it alone. There's support groups out there, there's coaches out there. If you want to work with a coach one-on-one, do it, right? Like, that's why I became a coach, because I wished that I had someone like me to talk to when I was going through this. So that's why I literally decided, let me be a coach, because I can help so many people. So if you are interested in coaching and one-on-one coaching, I would definitely invite you to book a session with me. You can do that via the link in my bio on Instagram. And I offer a free 15-minute consultation if you're not sure. If you want to make sure you're comfortable with me, like, totally by all means. And, you know, I also need to make sure that we're a good fit to work together, because, you know, I got to understand what your expectations are from a coaching relationship. And I also want to say that coaching is not the same as therapy. And sometimes it's a good idea to do therapy and coaching. Like, there's nothing wrong with having multiple people helping you. There's nothing wrong with creating your own support team, because your support team obviously does not exist within your family. And chances are your friends don't really understand what's going on if they haven't really been through this, right? There's also free resources out there as well. There's Facebook groups for people who have toxic families, and, you know, like, there is a lot of venting that goes on in there, right? So sometimes it is good to vent, like, nothing wrong with that at all. But, you know, if you find that those spaces are a little toxic, there's other spaces as well. Just, like, you know, just do some Googling. There's other communities out there. If you are able to work with a coach, by all means, do it. And yeah, like, my course, again, is a good resource too. It's one of those things that you just do it at your own pace, and you don't go too quickly, don't go too slowly, and you can learn the tools that you need to learn in order to heal. I also have a book that is a step-by-step guide, so that's also available at the link in my bio if you're interested in that as well. There's so many options out there. There's so many other coaches as well. There's lots of free resources on Instagram, lots of free content on this page. These videos are obviously free, so, you know, it's really up to you how you want to do your healing stuff, right? Like, you can go about it in any way, and there's no wrong way to go about healing. I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. You want to heal by feeling your emotions. Like, that's the most important thing. Feeling your emotions is the best way to heal. It's like the only way to really heal, and it's going to be the most helpful way for you to heal. But there's no wrong way to go about figuring out how to heal your emotions, right? So it's like, if you don't want to work with a coach, you don't have to. If you don't want to take a course on it, you don't have to. But as long as you're figuring out ways on how you can understand yourself emotionally, understand what emotions you're feeling, understand why you're feeling them, and just the fact that you are feeling them and that it's okay that you're feeling them, that's how you heal. All right, so I'm gonna end this here. I hope this has been helpful, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.